Welcome back, everybody, to another All Things Nerd video. Today we are back in the Twilight Highlands, where we are going to go check out Isorath, the servant of the old gods that's sitting in the maw, and it has buried itself under the ground here, and you can see it's actually behind me. But where I'm currently at is outside of the map here, and we're going to go see how I got here in just a moment. All right, everyone, welcome back. And just like the video introduction had said, today we are back in the Twilight Highlands, and we're actually in my favorite World of Warcraft expansion, Cataclysm. And we're actually over here by the Maw of Madness, which is Isorath. He is a servant of the old gods, and he lives in the Maw of Madness, I guess you would say. And this is where I'm currently at over here. I'm just floating above the Maw of Madness right here. And we're actually going to break out of bounds and get inside around Isorath and see kind of the different perspective of how this looks. Now, as you can see here, we already have kind of a big glimpse of this old servant of the old gods, and it's really cool because actually something interesting. There is a few things that we're going to go take a look at, especially underneath of Isorath. So once we clip out of bounds, there's some things left under the map that I thought was really fascinating. And why Blizzard actually left them there, I have no idea. There's actually some test objects that we're going to go take a look at. And then also like this floating, I don't know, I guess you could say crystal or chamber that's just sitting underground that you can stand on top of. And that's actually where I was at the beginning of the video. So let's go start this adventure and let's break out of bounds. So I did figure out a way to get out of the map here, and it involves getting on this side of the tentacle over here. Now I'm going to see if I can attempt this again. So really what you want to do is get yourself underneath this thing as much as possible, because obviously in order for us to stand up, we need to be completely, through this guy. And I think we might actually can just completely just go through the map right there. Okay, that works out too. So there we go. We've actually already got outside of the map, and I'm really happy with that because it took me a minute last night to do this. I was trying to jump into here as much as possible and then like fly out, but that was an easy attempt. So there you go. All I did was do a metamorphosis into the tentacle here and then just place the pillow outside, and there we go. We are completely inside of Isorath now. And as you can see, as we go inside of here, you get this awesome like view of his, I guess you could say, the opening or mouth of this old serpent, and all these tentacles that are sticking out. This is really like creepy, I don't know, just really like horror, scary stuff right here that you get like this look. This would be like a nightmare to wake up to if you were to awaken a dream. But I love like the ambience effect that you get here. You get like the purple mist that's surrounding, you get all the tentacles that are floating out. And like I said before, Cataclysm was actually my favorite expansion in World of Warcraft. I know that this expansion divided the player base big time because, Blizzard had really done something that they've never done before, and they pretty much destroyed the continents and kind of reshaped them. And I don't know. And it was a time of my life that I had played the most in World of Warcraft with, especially my brothers. I know I'd shared in the past. So it was a big special expansion for me. And I did everything in that expansion. I did the raids, I did the dungeons, I got my raiding gear, I did a bunch of PvP, so it was just a really fun time for me. So that's why this expansion holds a really special place in my heart. But all right, enough sippy sap. Let's go jump down inside of here and take a look around. Now, as you can see, the outlines of where the developers are going to place everything, kind of like these markers on the ground that gonna show you like where everything's supposed to be and kind of like how they placed Isorath around the area here. Now, I hope I'm saying that right. But if you look at his name, it's Iso and then Wrath. Yeah, so I'm assuming I'm saying Isorath right, but if I'm saying it wrong, maybe you guys can correct me. Let's go take a look underneath inside of one of these tentacles. You get this like really weird view of the underneath part here, and obviously they're all hollow because technically we're out of bounds. But I love like looking up into the tentacle here, and you can kind of get like a better view of what this thing looks like from the outside. One thing I found really cool was when you're out of bounds, you get like this effect of the ground that's sticking up from above. And obviously you see that anywhere, like when you get out of bounds, but I'm going to show you a really cool thing here just in a second, but I wanted to kind of give you like a 360 view of what this guy looked like from the outside. Because the next part we're actually going to be jumping into here. And you get to go kind of on the outside of the mouth here. And let's actually jump down inside of here. Got to catch ourselves. And there we go. Now we're going to get this awesome view of all the tentacles here. Now the mouth did kind of disappear because technically we are out of bounds outside the mouth now. Now if we go inside of here in this space and we look in our camera, we'll actually go inside here. So there you go. That's kind of like the outside part looking into the tunnel here. Now one thing I do love about this is Isorath is like his own model and place in the game, like a space of like a living space. So a really cool thing that you can do is actually take a flying mount and you can fly around inside and not actually have to worry about DCing or anything. So if you wanted to fly around on the outside part, which we're going to go do. Now, here's something interesting that had caught my eye. On the outside of Isorath, there is this floating crystal looking shape thing. I don't know exactly what this is, so if anybody can tell me what that is outside Isorath, I would love to know. It's like this floating spear that's just hanging there in the middle of nothingness, and we're actually going to go fly over to it, and that's what I was standing on in the beginning of the intro of the video. So I don't know what exactly it is, and maybe there's like a room you actually teleport into and like a quest as you go through Isorath. I don't remember the quest line exactly, but I just was trying to take a guess of maybe what that might be. So if anybody actually knows what that is, I would love to know. And if you have a little bit of history on why that's just hanging out there underneath the map. Obviously it's an object that Blizzard had left, and for whatever reason it looks like a room or something you can do. But let's actually go fly over there and I'll show you what I'm actually talking about. So what we're going to do is we're going to get outside the map here and we're going to go fly straight. Now we're actually going to lose our so we're actually going to hit a wall here in just a second. There we go. So as you can see on my mini map, there actually is a room right here, and it is an object just floating here. So I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy at all. So there we go. We're actually floating on top of this thing, and you can dismount and walk on top of it. But I'm just like curious, like what is this? But one thing that I really love right here is you get this awesome shot of Isorath from under the ground here. So here's his full like model. But not only that, I just wonder like what this thing is and why it's just living on here. It kind of looks like a tree stump that's been not completely formed or modeled in a way. That's kind of what it reminds me of. But if anybody has an idea of what this like floating black crystal is out here, I would love to know. It looks like a tree stump or like one of those like tree spikes sticking up out of the ground. I don't know. Anyone's best guess. But as you can see on my mini map, there is an object here. So it's just floating out here in the middle of nothing. I would love to actually break inside this thing and see if you can actually get inside of it. I don't know if that's possible. Maybe I could like glitch inside like that and see if there's anything inside, but it is completely dark, and you get like this awesome view of your demon hunter where he's just like glowing up with the green eyes and my tattoos. Look at this. How awesome is that? One thing that's really cool here is because there's no light here, you actually can mount up on different mounts, and it makes it kind of like this like black void type mount. Any mount you want to do gives them like a whole new look. Well, that one not so much, but cat does look better in the dark here because it's all lit up. But yeah, that's the first part of this video that I wanted to show you guys. Now the second part is actually going to be more down below, so we're going to have to keep traveling more. Now something really interesting outside the map here. Oh, and I just DC'd. Give me a second here. So if you do fly too far out, you got to be careful, as you will DC, as you saw. So we got to be careful where we're walking here. One thing I wanted to show you was over here. Was right here. There is a floating bonfire, a campfire, and a like a cauldron over here. But if you actually hover over the names, there's a Doodad Cauldron 04. So these are just test objects. Doodad Orc Bonfire 08 and Doodad Elwyn Campfire 24. So I thought that was kind of funny, and they're just literally floating here underneath the map. Now, why they're here is anyone's best guess. Obviously, Blizzard was testing stuff here, and maybe when they were building the map, they were just messing around with objects and they left them here for people to find. I have no idea. I'm glad they did, because as an Out of Bounds explorer, this is like the stuff we live for, right? But I thought that was really interesting. So there's just a cauldron, a bonfire, and like a campfire just hanging out in the middle of space here. Now, if you go too close underneath them, or you will DC, so do be careful. There is a safe space or safe path back to Isorath. So if you literally just fly in this direction, you can go back to Isorath and be fine, and you won't DC out of the map or anything. So I just thought this was a really fun video to show off. I don't know why this is here or why these objects are floating here. I have no history of these things or why they're even out here. Maybe Blizzard had more intentions to put more stuff underneath the map. We are above the floating village of Kirkhaven, so maybe this has to do with up here, because you can see like there's a fire and stuff in here, and maybe they had objects that were built up there and they just kind of fell through the map. I don't know, but I thought this was a fun video to make, show you guys I love finding things like this, even in like the retail classic world of World of Warcraft. You know, the original island. I mean, obviously this was in the Cataclysm expansion, but what I'm saying is the, you know, finding stuff on the Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor, I think that's really cool. I didn't even know this stuff was down here until I came down here. I've always wanted to get under the Maw of Madness and see if there was anything actually under here, because I did it in the raid, right? The Deathwing raid. There's those two very similar to these guys, and they have like the pink square boxes you can find. But there you guys go. That's Out of Bounds adventure today, and I thought this was really neat to show off. I still want to know what that giant crystal thing is floating in space right here, so if anybody has more information on that, I would love to know. I'm gonna see if I can do some more floating in the map exploration, because I have a feeling there's more test objects that are floating around in space in the world that we know of, and I'm definitely going to be looking for them. So I want to thank you guys for joining me on this adventure today in the Twilight Highlands. Thank you guys for all the support that you give All Things Nerd. We're growing. We're almost to 10,000 subscribers, and it's a big blessing to get there. So thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your week and a happy Tuesday. Take care.